Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Digitally Uploaded podcast. We have a special couple of weeks planned for you because I'm in Japan and not able to actually record the podcasts. We've pre-recorded these. We're going to, over the next 2 weeks, count down 20 of our favorite songs in video games. These are songs that have particularly inspired us and really have helped to make the games that we love, the games that we love. So we're going to intro each track, each game, each piece of music, and then we're going to play it for you. So you have a nice countdown to listen to and tune into while you're, whatever you're doing while you listen to our podcasts. I don't know. What do people do while listening to podcasts? Exercise. While you're exercising, because I'm sure you listen to DDNet while you're at the gym. We'll start with our traditional bit of Hatsune Miku music, and then we'll come back and we'll actually get into the podcast itself and into the countdown. Welcome back, everybody. So the first song on our list of 20 top pieces of music is my pick. It comes from the original Nier, not Automata, Nier itself, and it's called The Wretched Automatons. This is a track that plays when you're going through a pretty industrial area, and it's got some really clashing beats and a really nice melody sitting over the top. So there's a good contrast in the way that the music's structured, and it's a very complex piece, and it really fits with the theme of that particular dungeon while you're exploring it, and gives it this really kind of harsh, cold feel, which is at that point in time in Nier exactly what they're looking to do. While you're playing this, while this song is playing, you're actually doing a bit of a top-down kind of shooting section, which is, yeah, it's interesting. Nier's a very interesting game at all times, and it has got a very complex music composition. So enjoy this one, and we'll come back and countdown. The countdown continues.
Okay, so my pick for best song, maybe not of all time, but song I really, 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 really enjoy, it's Unbending Steel from Final Fantasy XIV. So this is the theme song for the boss called Ravana, the primal called Ravana. For those who don't know, he's a giant bug with like swords for hands and legs. So if it sounds pretty epic, it's because it really is. And so Unbending Steel is a theme that's based on a waltz, and they have Ravana's VO, I think, singing along with the vaults, and it's just like an incredibly deep and menacing tone, juxtaposed against, I guess, like the generic fragility of waltzes normally and how they're used in music, and also just like the viciousness of the fight and the boss fight. It's quite a hard boss fight when you do it for the first time at level. And I always remember Ravana being like absolute chaos to watch. So the chaos of the visual in front of you juxtaposed against this sort of like really sort of menacing, almost like gallows walk style slow waltz is really, really nice. And that and FF14 has such good use of instrumental and orchestral tracks. I know someone else here is going to pick up Final Fantasy 14 track soon enough. But I really enjoy it mainly because each boss has its own unique theme, and Ravana's theme is one of the best out there, I reckon.
My first pick is the world from The World Ends With You. It is Twister. It's a song which introduced me to, I guess, Japanese pop. Really, I wasn't really when the game first came out. I was obviously in high school. I was young and naive, and I wasn't really into Japanese or Korean or Chinese based pop music. So I got introduced to it by The World Ends With You because it was upbeat, it was exciting. My friend at the time was more interested in Korean music, so I was already starting to learn, I guess, about different cultures. Obviously before then, more of a 80s sort of hard rock kind of guy, so it's definitely introduced me to a different type of music genre. So the song fits really well with The World Ends With You's themes. It's a game where you beat noise, which just appears everywhere. You're in basically an underground alternative reality of Shiba, I think it is, and you're basically battling out monsters through there, trying to deal with all your angsty teenage emotions, which the game focuses on. So it fits really well. Great lyrics, fits perfectly with it. Enjoy it.
Morning rays, years and cranes, turn to the woods, east, the west, honest. There wasn't a dream, Bell society, unity. Corn apples, spinning it, and sound clouds flow through home, trapped by the power of the dream. The power is yet unknown. Morning rays, catching queens, to the west, honest. There wasn't a dream, Bell society, unity. Corn apples, spinning it, and sound clouds flow through home, trapped by the power of the dream. The power is yet unknown.
So one of the soundtracks that I like the most is the Jet Set Radio series. They have this great mix of hip hop and electronic and hard rock and all these different genres. And the track that I picked is actually not from those games, but it's a remix of a track from Jet Set Radio Future called Technopathetic. And it's from a game called Ollie King, which is this arcade-only skating game. And this track is just a great dance track. It's got like a nice 80s vibe. And just imagine rushing down a city street on a skateboard and just listening to this. It's just such a great vibe. Also, halfway through the song, there's like an erhu solo, and that's so weird. I love it. It's great.
I'm also picking a song from Final Fantasy XIV, which I know a lot of other people are choosing as well because there's a lot of very good music. The song is called Beauty's Wicked Wiles, and it's from the Stormblood expansion. It plays when you're fighting against one of the primal bosses, Lakshmi, and it's very different to your typical boss theme because this boss basically is based on the Hindu goddess and essentially tries to kill you through love, and has a lot of her special moves. She basically grabs the whole raid and hugs everyone to death. And so this music is it's this very sweet, melodic, quite happy music, but with the kind of slightly sinister undertones when you start listening closely to the lyrics and thinking about them. And yeah, so it's a great song.
Shall
So Alan can't be with us to intro his picks for this countdown, but he has given us his picks, and the first one off the rank is Final Fantasy X's battle theme. I think anybody who's played Final Fantasy X will have that song permanently engraved in their memory, partly because it happens so often, because obviously being a battle theme, it comes up every time there's a battle, but also it is a really it's a really good piece of music. It's a very active piece of music. It's very energetic, which really fits with it helps complement the turn-based nature of the combat, because there is the potential, especially these days, for turn-based games to be seen as, I guess, slow-paced and unexciting. But for Final Fantasy X, the music really helps to pick up the slack there and gives it a really strong energy, which, it complements the strategy of Final Fantasy X's battles very well.
So I'm bringing in Brad's first pick, and he's chosen Dracula's theme and Simon Belmont's theme from Super Castlevania 4. And this whole soundtrack is just great. It's around that era of the SNES games where they had like 80s rock dimmed down into like a MIDI synthesizer, and it's just, they use so many cool things. The bass line is really groovy, and it's just a whole lot of fun. Just imagine rushing through Dracula's castle, killing monsters, and just having a grand old time.
So for my second piece of music, I'm going with something from the Caligula Effect, which I keep talking about in the podcast. So I don't know when I'll ever stop wanting to talk about Caligula Effect, but specifically the music, the piece of music that I've chosen, which is the one that I love so much I could listen to on repeat for dozens of hours and not get bored of it. It's called Peter Pan Syndrome. It's the first piece of music that you really hear. It's the first piece of music that comes up in the first dungeon, which gets intros really quickly in the game, and it really sets the tone of the kind of the pop virtual idol theme of the rest of the game. This song in particular really cements it as this is what this game is about. This is the tone of the game. This is your first impression of it, and it really gives the game such a strong start. So enjoy this piece. It's definitely right up there with the most memorable pieces of music you will ever hear.
子供の頃は恐れるものなんてなくて自分のことを特別だと信じていた僕のこの手で思い通りに世界を変えてみせる手を伸ばして掴み取って唯一無二な僕を声に出して褒めたたえて特別なこの僕を恐れないでそばに来て誰でもない僕を愛して他人と同じ自分を認めたくなくて見えないふりで都合よく目を閉ざしたら大人になれず子供のままで死ぬまで夢を見たい目を開いて映し出して何にもない僕を包み込んで抱きしめて子供みたいな僕を君の手で受け止めてやがて消える僕を愛して誰かに認めてほしくて作り上げた偽物の僕がこの世界で一人きり子供みたいに目を開いて映し出して何にもない僕を包み込んで抱きしめて子供みたいな僕を君の手で受け止めてそして本当の僕を愛して手を伸ばして掴み取って声に出して褒めたたえて恐れないでそばに来て
Compared to everyone else's songs, my next song is a little bit more quieter, a little bit more less upbeat. It's from Firewatch. It's the prologue introduction theme, and it really fits the game really well. It's the first piece of music you hear, and it introduces you to a world which is just a little bit quieter, a little bit in nature, but you just don't know what to expect from the game. So as you explore the prologue introduction part of Firewatch, you sort of am enloped by this quiet theme which just drills into your head, and the whole soundtrack in general in Firewatch is a very toned down, minimalistic, piano almost naturey sound, which it's brilliant, it's great, and the prologue really encapsulates that. So I hope you enjoy it as much as I do.
All right, so my next pick is from Final Fantasy IX. Predictably, I promise they're not all Final Fantasy picks. Like, I have one other song that is not a Final Fantasy song. But predictably, I think you might be able to guess from the number of the game that I picked. The song that I want to highlight is Immortal Melody, which is Kuja's theme. So he is probably one of my favorite villains of all time. And I feel like the way that Kuja's theme is used in the game and structurally composed really sort of like adds all those layers onto him as a character. I was going to say spoiler alert, but then the game's so old, what is the point? But it's essentially I feel like the way that Kuja's theme uses devices like arpeggiated chords and also just like constant orchestral layering, and then there's that drone of like what sounds like synthetic strings of the background. It creates a very artificial feeling, which is fitting for the kind of character and origin story that Kuja has. But also the sort of reverse arpeggios have a very melancholic and very threatening nature almost. And the way that they are dragged out, the way that they are and distorted in his theme sort of makes it sound like the music's been corrupted, which again is very fitting for his character arc as a whole, especially when he descends into insanity. So I just think that thematically, it's a song that really fits him as a character. It's incredibly well composed, and it's great. Check it out. Give it a listen.
And that rounds out the first 10 of our countdown. Be sure to tune in next week as we talk about the next 10 of our top 20 songs of all time. Hope you enjoyed this. Hope it gave you some new music to listen to. And we will see you next week. Thanks for listening.